Hi Bother Brigade, here's what's bothering me today. I've noticed that a lot of websites now are putting up paywalls, and this is most famously attributed to newspapers and online media sources. And it's kind of funny when someone like the Washington Post says democracy dies in darkness, and yet they're constantly putting up paywalls. And then you also had relatively recent news on Twitter that Elon Musk was going to start trying to, in the further quest for monetization of everything on the platform, he's trying some new weird idea of pay per click for article views and whatnot. So yeah, this is the world we live in, unfortunately. But fear not, for there are numerous ways to get around paywalls. I know I've talked about these on other social media sites before, but I've never made it explicit for the community here. So in case you aren't aware, there's a couple of really good options for getting around most soft to medium paywalls. First off, there's the 12-Foot Ladder app. So according to creators of 12-Foot Ladder, the idea is pretty simple, with news sites wanting Google to index their content so it shows up in search results. So they don't show a paywall to the Google crawler. The site benefits from this because the Google crawler will cache a copy of the site every time it crawls it. All they do is show you that cached, unpaywalled version of the page. Pretty simple, I love it. There are also in-app browsers such as Reader Mode, which take away all the clutter of ads on a web page and make it simple and streamlined for you to read whatever you want. But sometimes these won't be enough. Sometimes they'll still figure out a way to either prevent 12-Foot Ladder from even showing the page, or it'll just leave it blank, or they'll say it's been disabled for this site. There's usually something that will happen, and so that brings us to the next possible option. If you go to archive.ph, you will see a very simple website with two entry bars on the page. The top one is if you want to archive something, but the bottom one is what's more relevant to getting around a paywall. You just put whatever paywalled page you want to see inside of that second bar, click enter, and then it should, hopefully, if it works, lead you to the unpaywalled version of the page. So let's say we want to read this New York Times article. Oh, whoopsie, look at that. Look, it's asking me to subscribe. I've run out of my free articles, so can't do this here. So let's try 12-Foot Ladder. Okay, 12-Foot Ladder has been disabled for this site, so let's go for archive.ph and see if that works out for us. So we want to put it in this bar here. I want to search the archive for saved snapshots. Paste search, and look at that. And we just click on, there's various lists, but we'll just click on one, and okay, there we go. It is loading, and here we go. Look at that. You can get around the New York Times for free. But unfortunately, sometimes even these won't be enough. These are the hardest of paywalls to crack, and there's very few ways of getting around these, unfortunately. There's something you can do that may or may not work. I've had about basically a 50% or like a coin toss kind of success rate, where you go to the paywalled page, you right click on it, you click inspect, you go to the network conditions portion. Instead of using the user default, you use a different one, and then maybe that will actually lead you to an unpaywalled page. So that's something you can do. It's a little more involved, but it can also still work. But that's like half the time it doesn't work for me. So meh. However, a very underrated way of getting around most paywalls is to go and support your local library. Fun fact, but most libraries will also subscribe to many popular forms of news publications. So, sure, it might not be the same for everyone. I know mine's going to be different from, say, someone in New York or in Los Angeles or in Vancouver or in Singapore. Like, it's going to be different, but your local library will have online versions of newspapers for you to read. All you need is a library card, which is free. And libertarians say taxes don't do anything for you. So yeah, those are really the three, maybe 3.5 if you count the, click inspect and go to the network conditions and do that kind of thing. Those are the main ways I get around most paywalls, and so far it still seems to work. But unfortunately, one of the downsides is that, again, as these new ones arise, because 12-Foot Ladder wasn't always here, then these same legacy media corporations are trying to find new ways of restricting access. So it's a constant battle. And that's why 12-foot ladder chose the name, because like, show me a 10-foot high paywall, I'll show you a 12-foot tall ladder. And yeah, this is going to be ongoing for a long time. So, you know, hell, even by the time you're seeing this at some point in the future, 12-foot ladder may not even be a thing anymore, and it will be something else. But these other techniques do work. Archive.ph is there, and I'm hoping it's still going to be there for a long time. But arguably one of the best things you can do, which costs no money, takes only a little bit of your time, and you can do online, is to go support your local library and read the digital versions of these famous international newspapers for free. But really, it shouldn't even have to come down to this, right? All this kind of information should be available, especially given how much misinformation and disinformation is peddled online. It's so infuriating to see people talk about, oh, hey, yeah, that seems like it could be an interesting article. And then guess what? It's paywalled. Whereas literal like disinformation or outright right-wing propaganda gets posted by various websites which aren't paywalled. And so those get the views and the clicks and the shares, because it's all part of what can drive internet traffic. So as much as these legacy corporations are thinking, oh no, we can't let people see our things for free, we have a business to run. Yeah, and right now you're still losing with your existing business models to these awful forms of misinformation that are just proliferating every day on the internet. So if you really want to stick it to legacy media corporations, support your local library. But again, it's just so deeply unfortunate that any of this needs to happen, that this had to be made, and that we have to find ways of getting around paywalls so that we, in an increasingly uncertain financial future, can get access to information. Like, it's all just so sad and depressing, and it's definitely what's bothering me today.